It's preparing.
Oh, got it.
You can see me.
Yes. And it
There
says
you
we're
are.
streaming live on Facebook.
Okay. It's setting up.
Hello, Facebook.
Okay. Let's see. This live video is moderated. I guess we're live on Facebook now.
It looks like it says meeting is now streaming live on Facebook.
Okay.
So if anybody's watching, they're like, what are they doing? They don't know what
I'm not going to hit play because I've done that before, and then it's like playing us here and it like reverberates. Okay, I'm trying to make this bigger and then we'll get going. Every time I do this is like the first time.
Well, and if anybody is on, get your glass of water. I was going to say get your snack, but don't get a snack. Just get a glass of water.
It's water and join us live. All right. Hello, everybody. Happy Monday here in September. I have Lisa Duke here with me. She is a weight loss expert. So y'all know that I am super into holistic health and well-being. So I thought, what a perfect person to have join us than Lisa, because weight loss is one of those things that many of us struggle with. And also many of us want to make a lifestyle. And that's something that I'm really big about. And I know that Lisa is too. So I'm going to tell you some about Lisa here. Let me tell you here. So Lisa Duke is a certified weight loss coach through the Life Coach School, which is through Brooke Castillo, which is somebody I love listening to her podcast. And she specializes in helping women over 40 with over 40 pounds to lose to change their habits, their hormones, and to understand how their minds work, which is huge, right? Don't we want to know how our minds work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that we can improve how the women feel physically, mentally, and emotionally. Awesome, Lisa. Well, thanks for doing the interview. So, like, what got you started in weight loss? Like, what made you decide to go this route and help women with this?
Well, this is not everybody, but an awful lot of women in America, right? It's kind of the big like SAT word for it is it's an obesogenic environment, right? Like we're in an environment that tends to be oriented around cars, not everybody everywhere, but typical American town, you're supposed to be sitting in your car commuting. You're supposed to be sitting at your desk doing work all day. We aren't really taught how to deal with stress and all the multiple things that we're juggling. So a lot of people are using food, again, it's kind of subconsciously without realizing it. We're using food as a drug. We're using food as entertainment. We're using food for fun. And so I was fine as a kid, but got to college, put on some weight, went actually to Costa Rica, studied abroad, different lifestyle, lost the weight, came back, got a desk job, started gaining weight, and just kind of kept creeping up from there. And I tried a lot of different things. I was never like super obsessed about it, but it kept kind of like coming up as like, I should really figure this out. So I did Jenny Craig. I did this like high intensity boot camp for a while. I've done I did Weight Watchers for a while, all kinds of different things off and on, and had varying degrees of success with the different things. But I'm a root cause kind of person. Like when I go to the doctor and they're like, oh, like all they want to do is diagnose and prescribe. They're like, you have this condition, take this pill. I'm like, whoa, time out.
Well, why? Yeah.
How did I get the condition? Where did it come from? How do we get rid of it? So, that's the piece that's really fascinating to me is I don't want to just like cover up the symptoms with a pill. I want to know like really what's going on and how do we get at it? And for me, the coaching, and I'm also, this is the other certificates behind me. I'm also a theta healing practitioner. So for me, a lot of it was the thought work and realizing sometimes it's just habits that we're in and there's no like deep hidden drama or trauma about it. But a lot of times, right, it's just our thoughts and we don't realize these things that we believe are the truth are not necessarily the truth. So
you're really helping women identify those thoughts that are leading to the weight gain.
Exactly.
Like creating that permanent change.
Yes. And really kind of figuring out what's behind it, right? Like one of my clients, she lives out in Texas and it's kind of a party town. And so she had a couple of different things going on, but one of them was she had this mental association that if I'm having fun, I must overeat.
Yeah.
Right. So they have fiesta, which is big out there, friend's wedding, birthday, anniversary, work get together. Right. And I was like, if you want to, this is a very common cultural association that
It
fun
totally is.
equals
And it's
food.
very acceptable that
Yeah. Yeah.
we're having a good time. We're going to be eating, and sometimes we're going to add in drinking too, which
Yes.
just
Right.
makes
Which then
it feel good.
A has calories and B lowers the inhibition. For me, it turns off the little voice that says you've probably had enough. So yeah, for her, she was just kind of in that habit. And if you want to celebrate, if you want to keep celebration equals overeating, and you do it like twice a year on your birthday and Christmas, then it's fine. But if you're going to celebrate every 7 to 10 days,
right, yeah,
like we got to break that up, or you're not going to get to your weight loss goals. So it's things like that where people have these patterns of thought and behavior that they just, it just seems true to them. They've never noticed it. So helping them kind of get an outside perspective on like, hang on, you say you want to lose weight, but we're having like party time and overeating every couple of days. Like these things don't go together. Help me understand. So a lot of that bringing awareness.
Are there any other common like themes that you see with the women that you work with that want to lose weight? Or any other common like things like, oh, if I'm going to have fun, that means I'm going to overeat. Or I would think another one is, oh, I'm stressed, so of course I'm going to eat. I'm in a stressful period right now.
Yeah.
Which for a lot of us is most of the time.
Right? Like this is what we saw with the COVID. And again, it's different things for different people. Everybody's unique, but there are patterns. A lot of people do eat because of stress. So COVID for a lot of people, we had a lot of stressful thoughts about COVID. And it interrupted a lot of good habits, right? So if somebody was in the habit of going to the gym and their gym was shut down, now it's breaking the good habits. And a lot of people developed like stress baking became a thing.
Yeah.
Right? Like the store was out of flour.
I was going to say, I know people were out of like their ingredients they needed to bake.
Yeah. And then you've got like this pan of brownies. And of course, we have to eat the brownies before they cool off and go bad. I don't know exactly. But yeah, so that's another really common one is like the stress and the eating. And it's a chemical thing, right? We do it because it works and it's effective. But a lot of times by covering it up and kind of, self-medicating, basically, we never really get at the roots of like, hang on, why am I stressed? And a lot of times it goes back to the thoughts, right? We're stressed because of our thoughts. And if we just cover up the stressful feeling with the pan of brownies, we never really deal with that root cause of like, oh, I'm stressed because I think I'm never going to see my parents again because, they're in a nursing home or whatever. Right. So sometimes you take that food away, then the real issues come to the surface and can be dealt with.
What would you tell somebody who's struggling with really emotionally eating and they want to, because that's a big part of it too, right? Is wanting to actually do the work, because like you said, then you see what's really rearing its head underneath there, which is also scary. It could be another reason to, if you overeat or emotionally, to eat. So what would you say to somebody who's like, like, I know that I've got to get a grip on this, or that like this habit of overeating, I can't do it forever, I'm starting to have effects, or I know I'm going to start to have effects of this. What advice would you give that person, especially if they're scared because they have an inkling of notion that underneath there's some stuff?
Yeah. A lot of this stuff, it's not pretty. The way out is through. Yeah. Right. So it's just like if you've got that junk drawer, right? And you're like, I need to deal with the junk drawer. It's really bad in there. Like you can keep shoving stuff in there and pushing the drawer shut, but it doesn't make the problem go away. And then you're always having to be vigilant, right? Anytime don't look in that drawer. And so while nobody really wants to go through the effort of clearing out their mental and emotional junk drawer, if you just do it, a lot of times it's not that bad once you get into it like you thought it is. And then you can bring the issues up kind of, put the light of day on them. A lot of these things are childhood beliefs that when you look at them rationally with your adult mind, you're like, oh, that's dumb. I don't even believe that rationally.
Yeah.
I didn't know, like, I didn't know we had a, garlic press in there. I don't need that, right? Throw that out. So a lot of it is when you bring it up to the light and you look at it, a lot of it just goes away and it's not really that bad. And then you're not having to drag that with you. You're not having to deal with it. I always think of it when we're really reactive. It's like if I have a boo-boo on my arm, right? So like my husband comes up and grabs me by the arm, not in a violent way, but right. He just like, come look at this. If I have like some giant gaping wound there that he didn't know about and I freak out, it wasn't inappropriate, like the amount of grabbing that he did, right? But my reaction was way outmatched to the level of, the stimulus. When we have that sort of mental and emotional junk drawer, we're so much more reactive. Somebody says something, we go through the roof and they're like, whoa, what did I even say? So that process of bringing that stuff up, working through it, dealing with it, clears it out. So then when somebody brushes up against it, you are reacting in a way that is appropriate to what is happening now, not what is happening now plus what happened when you were 10 years old or
that makes sense.
When your parents
So you help people identify what those things are that might be coming up. Exactly. Really compile back all those years.
Yeah. And you start healing some of that stuff, then you're not so reactive. So you don't need the cookies to make you feel better because you just don't feel so bad, right? In life, like, I don't care how much work you do. There's going to be like crappy circumstances. There are going to be things you don't like. There's going to be things that you want to be sad about or you want to be upset about.
Yeah, it's part of the process. Part of the life experience as a human.
Right. But when you're not dragging all of this old stuff along behind you, it makes it a lot easier then to go forward and be more even keeled.
Yeah, I also think like we can either work on it now or it's going to compile later, which, I see a lot with my patients, like years of not dealing with things. Then now they're in ICU or, sometimes clients that come to me, same thing, like they haven't dealt with it. So it's like, even though it's hard to deal with it now, like by dealing with it now, you either deal with it now or you deal with it later. I think Brooke has something really good about that, right? The training that you did, she talks about that, like pain now or pain later.
Yeah. I have a friend in a networking group who does healthcare insurance plans. And she said, and granted, everybody has different genetics, different life circumstances, but she was saying basically all of her patients are on medicine for high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and high blood sugar. And for most people, most of that is a direct result of what we're eating, which is a direct result of our habits and of trying to, again, kind of self-soothe and self-medicate with food. So like, if you just deal with it now, clean it up, then you don't have to, right? If I'm cleaning up my emotional drama, then I don't need to put this food in me to cover it up. And then I don't need the pills to cover up what the food is doing to me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
and you feel better too.
There's so much truth in that. And it's still not necessarily taught to us like that, right? It's not like get your Burger King or, the commercials, right? We're inundated with food commercials and it's like, our brain lights up. We're like, yes, I need that. So I think that's such a good point to deal with the emotional stuff, deal with what's going on in your head.
And if you start to pay attention to those ads, like a lot of times they're not even all that subtle with it. They are directly trying to appeal to your emotions, because that's what sells. But then it's setting up this whole promise, right? Like Coke's tagline, last time I checked, was open happiness. So they're not even trying to hide the fact that they're like, please use our product as an emotional support drug, right?
Right. Yeah. Within the short term is great, but in the long term.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of ways that we can get that natural endorphin hit without those things. Cause I love food.
Like maybe working out with you.
Yes. Yeah. Working out. And even like so many good healthy foods that taste really good. And like, I don't know, to me, a date tastes like a candy. Like it's so sweet. It's delicious. It's going to
That's
get your
probably
sweet
because
tooth.
you haven't had any proper candy in a while.
Oh, I have. I have.
You have to kind of reset your palate though, right? Because
You
nothing's
do.
going to compare to like a box of Godiva. But if you've had like salad, then a date is pretty damn good. You're like, oh yeah, date.
So share with us one of your favorite success stories of a client that you've worked with or working with, if you can make them anonymous for their privacy, of course. But
yeah, I've got a couple of good stories. One client. So my kind of typical client journey, they usually come in the first 2 or 3 weeks. They're excited. They make some changes and then they get in, and this is Brooke's terminology, they get in what's called the river of misery. And that's where the coaching comes out. Like, it's so hard. I don't want to. I'm too tired. Like, food is my only friend, right? Like, that's where all
who's
the
ever felt
drama
like
comes
that,
up.
right?
Yeah.
You're
And
like,
then they
yes, and then you're like, I really don't want this that
well,
bad.
and this is why support is so important, because that's where most people quit, because it sucks. You're in between the person you want to be and the person you started out as, and you're in this kind of uncomfortable in between. So it's so easy just to go back to what's comfortable and familiar. So that's kind of typical, right? They start off excited, they make some changes, get discouraged, get through the river of misery, kind of come out the other side, then they start losing weight. Well, one of my clients started out strong, and like, we did some coaching, we noticed some patterns, we worked on some things, but she was like doing great, doing great, doing great, doing great. And then she got like almost to the end and she had some sort of like meltdown. And I'm in a couple of masterminds, and I went to my coach buddies and I was like, my client's broken. What do I do? And right. And this is why, even for your coach, having support is so important. And they said, oh, that can happen. Right. So that first pattern that I mentioned to you is more typical, but some people start out strong, they go strong, and then they get so freaked out by like this new version of themselves. It feels uncomfortable. It feels weird, that's where the self-sabotage came up. So she was doing great until she kind of fell off the wagon. And then she would be off the wagon until I saw her again, like, beating herself up. And so with her, a lot of it was first off noticing that pattern, right? As I said to her, I was like, this is the same thing, like different incident, but this is the same exact pattern from the last time I talked with you. How about
like being successful, then like slamming on the brakes, like
like she would have like a mess up.
Yeah.
And then she'd be like, oh, it's all ruined. And I hear this a lot. People are like, oh, it's all ruined. I got to start over. It's just over. They throw it away, or they start over on Monday, or I'll start over tomorrow. Like, no, like, if something went wrong, if there was some fried chicken that was calling your name and you ate the fried chicken, just like be okay with it. You don't want to get into what I see with a lot of clients is they get into this shame cycle where they're like, oh, I ate something. I'm bad. I feel terrible. You know what would make me feel better? A cookie. Oh, I ate the cookie. I'm bad. You know what would make me feel better? Is some cake. Oh, I ate the cake. I'm bad. You know what would make me feel better? Some like, oh, no, you have to like, okay, the thing happened. I am human. I made a mistake or I made a choice, and that does not negate everything I've learned up to this point, everything I've done up to this point. I'm going to reset as of now. I don't have to wait for tomorrow. I don't have to wait for Monday. I don't have to wait till I see my coach. Like, it's okay. I'm going to just reset as of this moment, reset, get back on track. And same thing, once she kind of realized she had that pattern, she's like, oh, okay. So if I mess up,
just get right back on, right?
Yeah,
but
right.
You were able to help her see that that's what that was. Where she was on her own, she may not have even realized that was like a pattern. Exactly. Which probably played, like you said, been playing out in multiple ways, probably for quite a while.
Exactly, and this goes back to why people quit, and not everybody, but a lot of people quit because they get into that. They're like, well, there's just something wrong with me. I'm bad. I'm broken. I'm weak. I just can't do it. Like, yeah, you can. Like, it's normal to want a cookie. It's totally fine that you want one. Just like, it is what it is. Reset, start over, keep going.
And so she noticed that, and she got back on, and she's doing, she's still staying on her health journey.
Yes. Yep.
Awesome.
Exactly. Doing great.
Awesome. So is there anything else you'd like to share with us around the topic of weight loss before we talk about how people can get in contact with you?
Hmm. I think the biggest thing, at least for me, we didn't even get into this, but part of the way this all came up is I actually ended up losing 50 pounds myself. And the biggest shift for me was kind of realizing I did not think of myself as an emotional eater. But when we took the food away, we being me, when I took the food away, I got emotional about that.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't think like, oh, I had a bad childhood. Let me have a cookie. It was like when I had to tell myself, no, I'm not going to have the cookie. Then I got emotional. So I think the biggest thing is just recognizing, again, that it's normal. It's normal to want to move toward the pleasure of eating something yummy, away from the pain of working out, and to not beat yourself up, not kick off that shame cycle, and to put support around you, right? I'm sure this is a lot of why, yes, your clients are working out with you because they want to know how to not injure themselves. But honestly, a lot of it is probably just like,
A ton of it is support. Yeah. And
yeah, like I
I
have to do it because Brittany is waiting on me, right?
yeah,
So
for
just
myself
knowing,
personally and my clients, I'm like, just make it so it's easier on yourself. Create this bubble so that you do grow to be the better version of yourself. Because you're gonna feel so much better. Right? Those things
yes.
that are calling our names, like it's easier actually to just set yourself up and make it happen kind of thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Because that long-term planning part of your brain is always better behaved than the in the moment part of the brain. Right? So when you're feeling motivated, schedule with Brittany. When you're feeling motivated, do your Instacart order with lots of vegetables. And then in the moment when you're like, oh, I really just want to lay on my couch and eat a Snickers. Like, no, I said I was going to meet with Brittany, right? And
Yeah, like then they're like, okay, like I'm working with Lisa. This is why I hired Lisa. Like, yeah, and
exactly.
creating new neural pathways, right? It is a process. It is
Yeah.
uncomfortable at times.
Yeah. And it does, just because this was real kind of heavy, just to give people some hope. It does at some point become your new normal, and you start to love it and enjoy it, and try to make it fun. Like when we finish here, I'm going to go down to the riverfront here in Stewart and meet my husband. We do like a after work walk most days during the week. Tuesday, Thursday, I go down and do yoga down there. So
awesome.
yeah. So that way I'm getting it in, but it's not like, to do the workout sucks so much. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna go see my husband, hear all the drama from the day, like learn what I did. It makes it more fun, right?
Yeah.
Like that's why I like group fitness classes too. Is like I don't really want to go, but Susie's gonna be there, and Susie's so much fun.
Yeah. Attaching that pleasure piece, attaching like the accountability, the support.
Yes, yeah, so important. So yes, you need the know-how, but also the accountability, the support, and having that positive influence on you.
What's been for you like the biggest perk of releasing the 50 pounds?
This is a little superficial, but honestly, like this is not kind of the first major transformation that I've gone through, but most of them are invisible. Most of the time when you reinvent yourself, people can't really tell by looking, right? So I went through this like change in the way I handled money. When you become an entrepreneur, that is a huge shift, but nobody can really observe that from the outside. So the great thing about weight loss is people can see it. You're like, see, I told you, I know how to do the change yourself thing. So it's been really gratifying because people are kind of like, and again, this is in my head, but what I'm telling myself is like, now people can kind of see, like, I'm not making
Yeah,
this
and how
up.
inspiring
Like,
too.
real.
And it probably is, that's another like probably good accountability source for you too, because you're like, oh, people noticed. Like,
yeah. That's the kind of bummer thing I realized after I'd shifted my business to focus on weight loss. Like, oh no, now I can't get fat again.
Now you're like wedged in a corner, like you got to keep these healthy habits up.
It's kind of good though, because there is that incentive of, and I'm not trying to be perfect. I'm not trying to be like,
yeah. I think that's huge, and being
fitness
realistic,
model.
enjoying yourself, and like
And
enjoying the journey, having fun, like feeling good, not beating ourselves up. Like
have a little chocolate every now and again. We have something that my husband and I do called the dessert tax. So I generally don't order dessert, but I will take some tax off his dessert.
Oh,
So that way I get like 2-3 bites. I get the experience of having dessert. I get to enjoy the dessert. He's not getting a full portion of dessert, so it's better for him.
Perfect.
So yeah, you fit a little bit of fun, a little bit of indulgence, moderation and everything, even sometimes in moderation, right? Like still have fun. Yeah, have your fun, do your thing. Don't go for perfect. But if you're doing things mostly right most of the time, and being on to yourself when you're not, makes such a huge difference.
It does. So how can people get a hold of you? I know that you have a webinar coming up. Would you like to tell us about that?
Yes, thank you. So not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday, which I believe is the 29th. It's the last Wednesday of September at 6 p.m. Eastern time. I'm doing a free class on how to stop overeating. And you mentioned Brooke Castillo. I'm like, I was going to say stealing. That sounds bad. Borrowing directly from her. So it's like actually an outline I teach webinars all the time. I love to teach, but this one is directly inspired by her material. So if you like her podcast, you're interested in that, it's going to be stuff that I got going through coach training from her.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So it's kind of her approach to stopping overeating. And so we'll do class and some Q&A. And for those who are interested and want to stay to the end, I'll tell you about my program and how much that costs and how that all works.
Okay. And if somebody can't make the webinar, can you put the information in for the webinar on this Zoom when we put it on Facebook so they can reach you? And then, how do they get a hold of you if they can or can't make the webinar?
If you're already on Facebook, don't close us out. Open up another browser window and you can just put in Lisa Duke Coaching and go to events and mark yourself as interested. I do need to know if you're interested because I need to add you to my calendar that has the Zoom invitation or send you the Zoom link via Facebook Messenger. I guess this is probably about a year ago. I was putting it out publicly and got Zoom bombed. So you will need to get in touch with me and get the Zoom link, but you can get that. And then if you miss that, if you're having to work at that time, there's a whole bunch of content on my YouTube channel, lisaduke.net/YouTube. We'll kind of give you a little shortcut way to get over there. But you can like my Facebook business page, Lisa Duke Coaching. You can check out the videos on the YouTube channel. I'm on all the things, Facebook, Instagram. I'm even starting to be on TikTok. I don't quite have the hang of it. No, I feel like a grandma. How does this thing work?
Oh, I'm just such a Facebooker. I go in spurts on Instagram, but I'm like, Facebook's my
I love Instagram because it's I just follow all this weird hippie witchy yoga stuff and it's very different from my Facebook feed, right? It's all these people I don't even know, but it's good to have both. It's good to
you get a
people
variety.
And then follow all the weird stuff on Instagram. At least that's the way mine shakes out. So so you can get in touch with me there and I'm pretty available. Lisa@lisaduke.net. Email if all else fails. And
okay, awesome. Well, thank you. And then we'll post the links as well underneath this Facebook Live so people can have the direct links. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you. It was lovely to get to hang out with you and your people.
Yes. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
I think I'm still live on Facebook. Hey, y'all. And I don't know how to stop it. Stop live stream. Bye.